got quite the story to share with you all. And no, it's not of Trevor's vasectomy.
Whoa! Dude, I love gay people now!
No, we're a good guy. We're trying to save the kids. Look, we're saving you! Saving!
Okay, so I was born in... currently live in Mount...
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hunter x Hunter Book Club. Brandon and I are going to be talking about the 13th Hunter Chairman election arc, and just for some prefacing for it, this is the last arc the anime covered because at the time there wasn't enough manga content to add more to the anime, and this is the arc I remember the least about, even after reviewing the wiki notes. There was a lot that I do not recall, so I'm going to let Brandon mostly take the helm on this one.
Yeah, and also for me, I read this probably like a week or two ago at this point. I read it the day after we recorded Chimera Ant Part 3. And that was a second ago. I've slept since then. Kyle and I, we went on a trip to Insert Amusement Park here, which was very fun. But I might be a little rusty on the details. Of course, I have my trusty notes, but I might be a little bit rusty on the details. So if I forget that Mr. Bleep Blop says Boingo on page 63 of chapter 376, I would ask for your forgiveness in advance.
Okay, Brandon, first of all, it doesn't even cover up to chapter 276.
That's what you think.
This is chapters, according to the wiki, 319 to 339.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Let's
get started. Let's talk just a general overview of the arc and my thoughts on it. I really enjoyed this arc. Coming after Chimera Ant, it felt more like a Hunter x Hunter arc, as opposed to like an arc in the Hunter x Hunter world, which Chimera Ant felt like. And it was good to get back to it, and we saw some cool things. We got to meet the Zodiacs and Jing and my favorite character, Periston. It shouldn't be much, Periston, he's the rat, I'm the rat. It just clicks. I love Periston. He's a funky little guy. The arc, obviously, Killua being the protagonist, essentially, if you want to describe him as such. Getting to meet Alika and all that. I really enjoyed this arc. I thought it was very, very solid. And I can definitely see why the anime ended on it, because I think it's a great ending before we kind of get into the wider world of Hunter x Hunter, what with the Dark Continent being said to exist by Jing, and knowing that the next arc is called the Dark Continent Expedition arc. Yeah, I really enjoyed this arc, and let's go through it a little bit. So, I touched on this a little bit. We start off, we learn about the 12 Zodiacs, and they're getting together because obviously Netero is dead, and they need to hold an election for the next Hunter Chairman, which is the name of the arc. Which is, man, that was a lot of words to fit on the thumbnail. It's a lot of words to fit on the thumbnail. But we get to see them, and we get to see that they change their names and appearances based on their zodiac signal out of respect for Netero, with some exceptions. Specifically, there are two exceptions. Boar and Rat was known as Jing and Periston. This is very interesting because it just very casually introduces Jing as a pseudo main character of this arc. And I'm down for it. I really, Jing is a very interesting character, to say the very least about him.
Not a good dad.
Not whatsoever. But the 12 Zodiacs themselves, they're interesting enough. I mean, for a group of hunters, they do the job. I'm not going to sit here and be like they're literally the best group of characters ever. They're just not.
They're fine. There's a couple of standouts, like Jing, Periston. I liked Cheetah or Cheetle.
Cheetle, yeah, Cheetle.
Cheeto's cool. I'm looking at the pictures of most of them. A lot of them I just don't really remember all that well.
Yeah, a lot of them don't really do much. And to be fair, I don't think Togashi should have tried to have all of them do stuff, because having all of them do stuff, then you just get swamped down by too many characters, and that's just not a good strategy generally.
But the ones they focus on, Periston, pretty good job.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely love Periston. Periston, like I said, is my favorite character from Hunter x Hunter. And I wouldn't call it an unpopular opinion, but it doesn't seem to be common.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's not like that's not an opinion that would get you thrown in the slammer if anime opinions could get you sent to jail. But it's one that I haven't really heard a lot. I haven't really heard the opinion of Periston to be the best character, because usually people will say Gon for tragic reasons.
Well, I wouldn't say best character. In my opinion, the best character is Meruem.
Sorry, not best, favorite. Like people say Gon, Killua, Meruem, Netero, or other characters, but Periston Hisoka, but Periston showing up in the last arc. Kind of weird that it's your favorite, but I can respect it.
He's a funky little dude. I wrote here in my notes, Rat is cool. He's literally me. And Periston's great, and we just kind of get some of the initial politics. I love political stuff whenever it's done right, like writing.
He likes politics? No way.
Fictional politics. I like fictional politics. I like fictional politics stuff whenever it's written well. I enjoyed that aspect of this arc. To slow down from the fighting of the Chimera Ant arc, and to be a bit more laid back, if you want to call it that. But to be a bit more laid back, and to focus more on like the political side of things. I appreciated that. I thought it was super solid. Just get some banter where Jing and Periston nominate themselves. And
that was fun.
They
sorry, what were you gonna say?
What do you call it? They have to. I can't remember why I wrote this in. I just did. Jing isn't a good father at all. Oh, that was whenever he was having this conversation with Periston.
Yeah, Periston says he mentions Gon, and then he's like, you should go visit him, and Jing's like, nah.
Yeah, and then
I also like how. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say was Periston's like, well, since no one's gonna run against me, I think that's it. And Jing's like, nah, I think I'll run against you.
Yeah. And then they're like, no. So then they're like, we need to establish rules, and so they all write down rules on a card, put it into a hat, and have the bean dude pick it out, and he picks Jing's rules, which I can't remember what the 4 of them are exactly.
I can read them all. There were 5, but the last one people didn't like, and I think he threw that in just to make the other 4 rules seem more tolerable.
Yeah.
It was a smart idea, because it says all hunters, any hunter to exist, are both candidates and voters. The election will be repeated if the candidate with the most votes has not achieved the majority of votes in the first election. A particular election will be redone if the voting rate is less than 95%. It is mandatory that all hunters write their names, else all nameless votes will be null and void. And the 5th rule that Jing added to make the other rules sound more tolerable was the chairman of the election committee is Jing Freaks.
Yeah, and he added that last one specifically so that whenever it was read off, people would be like, what? And he'd be like, okay, cool, I give that up. And so they're like, okay, so they stomach the other 4. And we also actually see that Jing rigged all of this, and he gave his rules to the bean dude beforehand. And that's like, ooh, so Jing is smart. Jing definitely lived up to the hype that was surrounding him. Now, I did not read this series for 15 years from the beginning until the point Jing was introduced. But hey, if you did and you thought he didn't, I'm sorry for you. I thought he lived up to the hype.
At least in the short term, where it's like, we know that obviously with Netero and others, we know it's not one of those where Jing is the single greatest hunter to exist ever of all time, but he's high up there. He's a really good hunter. And so this scene with him running against them, just having everything planned right beforehand, manipulating it lived up to the hype as you said, that was given for Jing.
Yeah. Next, we get to see the first little initial voting thing. We get to see some of our old friends backing at it again. We get to see Bisky and some other people, and the dude from Greed Island, and other people I can't remember off the top of my head, and a certain Hisoka. Hisoka is my second favorite character. I still love him. I still love him very much. We get to see him, and we get to see Cactus Jack, otherwise known as Ilumi, as I will probably refer to him for the rest of the video, because that's just what I know him as. Quick side tangent, I recently watched some clips from the anime with Ilumi in it. He does not sound at all what I thought he was going to sound like.
Yeah, he sounds
I like his voice. It's just, he sounds like, I did not expect him to be that expressive.
Also, in the anime, the scenes with Hisoka and Ilumi are really good.
Oh yeah, that's what I was watching.
Where, like, one of the later ones, where he's like, "Can I kill Killua?" And then he pulls out the face like, "Oh, come on, just let me kill your brother."
I was just trolling.
A little bit of trolling. Yeah, no, they work well off each other.
Speaking of Hisoka and Ilumi, we get a little conversation of them, which I thought was very cool. Wherein Ilumi is telling Hisoka about what happened. It's basically like, yeah, if you haven't heard the news or whatnot, or on the DL, like Netero died fighting some ants, and he was like, if you weren't so busy looking for Crollo, he said you could have fought Netero or the ants. And that's just like, it's so weird knowing that like how the Chimera Ant arc is like being like viewed from the outside world. We're like, also, yeah, ultimately the only hunters were like affected by it were Netero, Morel, Nav, and Palm, Knuckle, Shoot, Gon, and Killua. Like, that's insane.
Also, can we agree that if Hisoka tried to go fight Meruem, he would just have gotten his ass handed to him?
Oh, absolutely.
And Hisoka would have 100% been down and just wanted to go fight him anyway. Be like, I can win.
Dude, it would have been just a slaughter if Meruem actually fought him,
Yeah. And then sorry.
It's a bit late whenever we're recording this.
He mentions to him that Gon and Killua are there, and that Gon's in the process of dying.
Yeah, he is. And Killua is going to talk to Silva and the rest of the Zoldycks. And then we get so this is the first, I don't know how they showed it in the anime, but in the manga we get different like page, we get like a page every once in a while after each like election to show like, okay, who got what votes, what percentage is that. And so we got to the first one, obviously Pariston's at the top. And I thought it was cool to look down the list and see some names like Morel and Gon. I thought it was cool to see Gon. Kite got a couple votes, and that's just like, hate to break it to you, bud. Jing got a couple votes, not very many. Then after this, we have more little political stuff, and where Pariston wants to add more rules. And this is kind of where we get the Pariston being the antagonist of the arc, the pseudo antagonist, anyways. Where he's kind of built up to be like, hey, is this guy evil? And we get to see this with like him trying to like manipulate things, and I really appreciated. So I like rats, right? I think they're funky little creatures, and obviously my little dude is the rat. I am the rat, and anytime that like the Zodiacs or like a rat-based character is shown, he's always like shrewd and ugly and like conniving and just straight up evil. Like, I loved Pariston's, like, how he was just, like, shown. Because, like he still fits Rat perfectly. Because he does, he works behind the scenes, and he's like underneath everything. Yeah, I mean, he is still Rat, but, like, on the surface, he's not.
And one thing I want to add is take the example of what happens when they're talking, and he's like, okay, how about if hunters don't come to vote, we temporarily take away their license? And everyone's like, no, let's not do that. But he's adamant about it. as a rule to add, where okay, yeah, you could see either side to it, where it's like that's a mean thing to do, but it would force the 95% to actually get to voting. So it's a toss up, and I enjoy that with Pariston, where it's like you could go either way on them.
We also get a little bit of a little tidbit of information as to why Pariston is the vice chairman, because you might wonder, well, if this dude he's looking a little bit sus, right? So how did he become vice chairman in the first place? Well, Netero chose him because Netero found him to be the most difficult person to deal with. That is so based. That is so based. Netero is a very interesting character. And just getting to know that little bit more about him is fun. And obviously Pariston, I love Pariston. After this, we get to see it's the beginning of Kilo's little section.
Yep. Are you looking at the wiki too, or just your notes?
I got my notes. We got Killua going back to the Zoldycks, and he is going to meet with his sister Aluka. Alika / Nanika, yeah. And she can grant wishes, and the rules are, it's Nanika will do this. There's technically two people, one by. I don't know. I don't understand how it works. I think we get more of an explanation of it in Succession Contest.
This is where things got confusing for me, because he's talking to his dad, and then Silva agrees to let him go talk to Aluka. He goes talk to Aluka, and then this is where my memory gets a little fuzzy on it, just because Aluka has a lot of strange rules that I just could not keep it.
Now, what it is so there's Aluka and there's Nanika, and Aluka calls Killua brother, and Nanika calls Killua. The rules are Nanika comes out and she will make demands of a person. If you fulfill 3 demands, it says she does like give me $1, give me a penny, give me a nickel. You do that, you get a wish. And so then say you wish depending on what you wish for something, whatever, it happens. Then the next person she makes demands of, the degree of the demands scales off of that previous wish. So say you just wish for I wish for a penny. You get a penny, and the next request would be super easy, just drink water, or it's just something super easy. But for example, say you wished, I wish to be a millionaire. Then as shown, the demands will be: give me your kidney, give me your heart, give me all of your fingers, give me your brain. And if you don't do 4 demands in a row, you die. The person you love the most dies, and depending on the wish, more people might die.
Yeah.
And I think the rule is more people die based on the amount of time you have spent with them. So, for example, as a plot point later, it's theorized by Ilumi and Hisoka, or at least Hisoka. That's a funny scene with them too. That whenever Killua wishes for Gon to be healed, it will be Gon and Killua to die, because there's Killua, and then Gon is the person that he loves the most. So obviously there's a little loophole we learn later, but that's the general rules. I
forget the loophole later, but also I'm looking on the wiki, and they just have the gif of the one girl, Mitsuba the maid, her head getting crushed, and she just gets atomized.
Yeah, that does happen. That was pretty funny.
You should watch in the anime. It's pretty gruesome.
It is.
But yeah.
So Killua is going to use his power to heal Gon. Ilumi thinks so. Hisoka says that it is bad. Yeah, that's where all that happened. And then we get basically comes in. Killua meets Alika, and Alika's like, die, Killua, and Killua's like, okay. And then the next panel, his head's gone. We find out it's just haha funny playing, and he's not actually dead. But that was I wrote in my notes, Killua fucking dies. So I wanted to explain that one. We get another page with election results, and still no one has the 95. They don't. Not 95% of hunters are voting. So Pearson wants to do speeches to invigorate the voters and to get more people to vote. Then we get more stuff with Alika and all that, where we go over a little bit more of what I just told you. And then Killua goes to take Alika out of the Zoldyck Manor, and this is where we get a first little glimpse at the loophole. Where the loophole is for you, Kyle, with Killua, and Killua is the only person we see doing this. Potentially others can, but so Alika and Nanika could grant wishes. However, if you give Nanika a demand, she'll do it.
Oh,
yeah, no,
you
and like I said, theoretically anyone could do it. I don't know if it ever explicitly says only Killua can. We only see Killua do it though, at least in the parts I've read.
So, and that's the whole thing. He wants to take her to Gon and just say heal Gon.
Yeah, and that's what he ends up doing. But we first see it here, where it's not explicitly said, but this is where it first happens, where Killua gives her an order and is like if we're not down the hill in 30 minutes, kill Mom. If we are, give me a kiss.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember reading that.
And so obviously, they have to let them go. They obviously have to let him go, and so they do. And then he's out on the run, and so starts the chase scene with Ilimi. We also get a little tidbit of information: is that Alika can only heal by touching directly. Meanwhile, she can kill just anywhere, and that's kind of based.
So that's why, he has to bring her directly to Gon.
Yeah.
In order for this to work.
And so then we get to see Leorio again. Leorio's back. Yay. I love Leorio. I can't remember exactly what he talked to Killua about. I think this was Killua talking to him and Morel, because my next one is Morel is a really cool character. I really like Morel.
Morel's awesome.
Morel
is awesome.
He's really cool. I think this is where they were talking about like getting Gon to like a separate place, like where no one can see them, so that he can heal them with Nanika. We get Killua needs the hospital to be empty. So yeah. Next we get to see some more election stuff. We get to see Pearson giving a speech to everyone, and this is your favorite moment of the arc, Kyle. Would you like to explain?
This is pretty much my favorite. So at one point they start taking questions, and this is when Leorio shows up and is like, hey, question for Jing, your son's in the hospital dying. And then they have some back and forth banter about it, and Leorio's telling, I don't care what you think, you should go visit him. To which Jing responds with, oh, I'm sorry, did Gon say he wanted me there? To which pisses off Leorio, because like, you know that he can't say that. And Jing's like, yeah, I really don't care. He never said he wants me there, which prompts, as I said, my favorite moment of the arc is whenever Leorio like gets the warping punch and hits him right in the face, which later we find out he let him do it, but it's still a fantastic moment.
Yeah, it shows a lot of Leorio's character.
Leorio's like the actual father for Gon. At least at this moment, it was just nice to see someone standing up for someone just really trying to show how just shitty of a father this guy is.
Jing isn't a great person.
He's a fun
put it
character.
lightly.
There's a difference between good character out of universe and good character in universe. Out of universe, he's a really funny character and he's pretty fun. He's smart. We know that. In universe, he's an awful person.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain this is the first time we get to see Leorio's Nen.
Yeah, no, this is 140 something episodes in, and that's why also I was excited, because we'd seen what Gon and Killua could do. We knew what Kurapika could do, and Leorio, Togashi was just biding his time with Leorio and broke it out at a really good moment, and it's a fun power too. Yeah, and I hope it gets used more later.
And then this next thing, we get to see another little election thing. And Leorio placed third. Specifically, I wrote Leorio placed third this time, lol. So he placed third behind Periston, who's always been first. I think Cheadle is behind Periston.
Yeah, Cheadle was too.
Here we get the little interaction with Hisoka and Ilimi, who had a lot of good moments in the arc. where they're standing on top of the mountain, and Hisoka and Ilumi's like, "Oh yeah, could you help me out here?" And Hisoka's like, "Yeah, could I kill Killua, by the way?" And then Ilumi's just like, "Hey, nah." And Hisoka's just like, "Hey yo, JK, I'm just kidding, though, lol."
It's pretty much of like Ilumi's feelings towards Killua dying are Hisoka's feelings towards Gon dying at the current moment.
Yeah, and we see that Hisoka did that on purpose to activate Ilumi's bloodlust, so it would clue Killua off as to where Ilumi is, and that to Ilumi is yes, he is following him, and we learned that is because Hisoka wants Gon to be healed and to survive. Hisoka versus Gon round 2 in 2057 is going to be insane.
Can we just talk about what would happen if Hisoka was there to witness Gon's transformation against Batu?
Dude, he would have immediately nutted.
Dude would have flooded everything with his white bungee gum.
It's so true.
But yeah, veering off that was I forgot that because I knew that it had that moment, but I forgot that Hisoka did that on purpose just to clue in Killua as that, hey, you're being followed, run.
Yeah. Next, in the forest, we get a nice little moment between Killua and Alaka, who are they're the heart of the arc of these 20 chapters. It was very nice where Killua was basically like, "Hey, like if I was the only person in the entire world that loved you, would you be fine with that?" And Alaka would be like, "I would make me so happy." It was just like, oh, it's just a nice little moment. Getting to see Killua's growth from the beginning to this point. Killua being, I would put him in third and my favorite character tier lists, and I would probably put him right under Meruem in terms of best written characters in Hunter x Hunter. Killua, this was kind of his arc a little bit, halfway, and I really enjoyed it. We get to see him.
I have a question.
Yes.
You said Killua was your third favorite, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm guessing you said Meruem and then Hisoka's number 1, I guess.
Favorite is Paris and Hisoka, Killua, and then best written, I put him right after Meruem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. I'm looking through the wiki and I'm very sad to see the next section just titled "The Magician and the Butler."
Yeah. Here. My notes, word for word, Hisoka breasting as per usual, fighting the guards. And then dang, Hisoka actually just killed him.
Yeah, for this fight, I'll just say it. This is a very Nen battle. But that's not anything bad towards it. Like, now that we've been established, or now that Nen's been established for quite some time and we've seen how Nen battles can play out, watching a dude fling coins like bullets versus bungee gum, and watching Hisoka kind of struggle.
What's the powers of bungee gum again? I just can't quite remember.
It's the power of rubber and gum.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It has properties of rubber and gum.
I see. I can't tell if you're joking or not, but I want to say yes that you are joking.
That's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
And watching the moment where Goto is like, if you don't undo your power, like your arms are going to get twisted over and over. And then the final sequence of the magician's quiz. That was such a cool section.
Yeah.
Where, okay, I'm looking at the wiki. He asked what did he ask him? He asked him a question. Oh yeah, how many coins will he return? And then he's like, you'll reflect all. To which Hisoka just simply murders him. I was like, didn't really matter.
Yeah. Just again reminding us, Hisoka's not a good guy.
No.
He is a bit evil.
He's very chaotic neutral in that he'll do whatever he wants for his own benefit.
Yes.
And then after that,
she turned herself into a motorcycle. Funniest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, we see Killua use Godspeed running away from Subone.
Yeah, it was an interesting little segment. I was not too fond of the Butler characters, but yeah, hey, they're cool enough, I suppose.
Yeah.
For this, we get a little bit more political stuff. Specifically, I wrote here in my notes, Hunter political stuff. Thank you, Brandon. Amazing note-taking here. Pariston is still winning, and Jing is out of the race. So this is the first time where after this past one, after Leorio punched Jing, they reached the 95% quota to continue. So then it was the top 16. The next will be the top 8, then the top 4, and then
hold on,
finally
two things. One, so Jing was knocked out of the top 16 after that, right?
Yes. I think maybe he eked into the 16, and this was the 8 he got knocked out at. But I can't remember exactly. He was pretty much out of it after Leorio punched him.
My second is Aluka a guy or a girl?
Kyle, you can't ask that question.
I legitimately don't know.
Um,
Because I'm looking on the wiki, it says him, but I thought it was a her for some reason.
Aluka is referred to as male by some characters and female by others. Aluka themselves uses female pronouns, and so typically people refer to Aluka as female. For ease of everything, I refer to Aluka as female.
Okay, cool. I will continue doing the same. I was confused.
Yeah,
Again.
it's a bit that's the shakiest one in Hunter x Hunter. But 2's just a guy that looks like a girl,
A twink.
you could say. The other only really complicated one, that's more complicated than Aluka, is Kite post Chimera Ant. Talk about Kite post Chimera Ant.
Cut back to the moment where I said, Brandon, you've called 4 different characters or so twink.
5.
5.
Yeah, my favorite quote from Kyle during the Chimera Ant arc, when I kept referring to P2 as the Royal Twink. He was like, Brandon, you've referred to like 5 characters as twinks at this point. I'm going to need you to be more specific.
Anyway, on with the arc.
On with the arc. I wrote Leorio is still in it. So yeah, so this was the 8 where Leorio is still in it. Then I wrote here Rat is a really cool character. So this is where I was getting to like Pariston more and more. I wrote here Elimi is breasting. I can't remember why I wrote that, but I suppose he was.
He has his needle people out on the hunt.
That's true. That's true.
And then there's something called the Pure Paladin Squad. I could have lived the rest of my life not remembering that this existed.
Yeah, they didn't do anything as far as I remember what they are. We also see here that Killua can wish more than once in a row, which we find out later is just him giving orders. And another very interesting fact about Aluka is Aluka never brings any negative fallout to anyone wishing to heal someone. That's very interesting.
Because that's not a selfish wish. That's just a wish for helping another person. Because I feel like, from what I remember, for what we know of Aluka, it's the more, like, the greater a selfish wish is, the more another person has to do to compensate. And since healing is not really, you could argue it's selfish, like that you yourself want another person to feel better, but you're doing it for the complete benefit of someone else. So
yeah, you're using a wish you could use for yourself on someone else.
Yeah, so I that's fine. And then isn't this whenever Elimi and Killua like confront each other?
No, it's a little bit later. I think yeah, it is a little bit later. Here we get to see the older guy, whatever, who was like the second place or something. He killed himself because all his guys died fighting Elimi. Yada yada. Morel, he was still in this, but he told people to vote for Pariston. And Leorio is second now. This is more political stuff. I really enjoyed all of it. I like seeing Morel. It's cool to be like that. He was there. That's the guy. He was there. He fought the funny guys.
He did.
Everyone gives speeches. Oh yeah, so here we have this is the beginning of the end of the arc. So they gather the 95% of hunters in the room for the last 4 people, right? And the last 4 people are Pariston, Cheadle, the cow guy, and Leorio. And they're basically like, we're gonna do 2 votes here. He said, and whenever we leave here, we'll know the 13th chairman. And so then a lot of stuff happens. Everyone gives speeches. Leorio is just like, so they give speeches. So the cow dude gives his support to Cheadle, right? Because he's like, well, Cheadle's our best chance of beating Pariston. And Cheadle gives her votes to Leorio because she's like, well, Leorio is our best chance of beating Periston. Leorio gives up and gives a speech like if I become chairman, I'm going to use it for my own gain to heal Gon. And everyone's like, woo, yeah, based. And then Periston is so based, dude. I love Periston. He just does whatever is most fun for him. I think that is so based. Because I always do whatever I think would be funniest for me. And so it's just like, I really like how they described it as he's not trying to win, but he's not trying to lose. Everyone just keeps playing into his hands. He just keeps making things interesting for himself, and everyone just keeps playing into his hands, and he keeps winning. And he gives his support to the cow guy. And it was very interesting, and that was to keep stuff under, like, the majority. And also, I can't remember exactly why, but there was a specific reason he did. We got away from this for a little bit. We get to see Gon's arm, which I believe is the only part of him post Chimera Ant transformation that we get to. I don't think we ever get to see his body, but we get to see his arm. And as I wrote in my note, Gon's arm be dry AF. Not gonna lie.
Oh my god.
Because it do be. He's a little whack. He needs some water. We see Nanika healing him, and there's a big burst of energy. Everyone is like, wowza, that was a big burst of energy. It gives Periston a little bit of an idea. The election results come back, and Leorio, for the first time, Periston is not in first, Leorio is in first. But now there's just two left. It will be a revote between Leorio and Periston because Max reached the majority. And they both, I don't think they redo speeches, but Periston kind of stalls for a second because he wants Gon to come back. And then Gon comes back. Wowee.
Wowzers.
Comes back. And this was all cool. Leorio is happy, but what does this mean for the election? I don't know what this. Periston planned this. He felt the burst of energy, and from the beginning, whenever Jing said, "My kid won't die," Periston was like, "I trust this dude enough to believe him in that." And so he planned that far ahead. I thought that was super cool. We finally get to see Gon and Jing meet.
Yeah.
It was a little underwhelming, I'll be honest with you, Kyle. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. But it was a little underwhelming. I can still enjoy something and have it be a little bit underwhelming. It was nice. I think it was in character. I think Gon said exactly what he would say to Jing, and I think Jing said exactly what he would say to Gon. But still, it's a little underwhelming. I don't know. Maybe I should temper my expectations for whenever Shanks and Luffy eventually re-meet.
Yeah.
Don't know what I expected, but they talk about Kite. And this is where... So you mentioned this, actually, where you said some people think that Kite had a number for reincarnation.
Yeah.
And Jing specifically says that, like, there's a number that comes up whenever Kite, like, really doesn't want to die. It's so interesting. Like, is there a reincarnation number? We don't know. I doubt we'll ever know. But maybe we'll see Chimera Ant Kite one day, whenever she's a mess.
Yeah.
We get to
so
see...
After this.
There was a very cool moment here, kind of before this whole scene ends, where Periston is like, Gon. He's like, you're the man of the hour, right? He's like, who are you going to vote for? He's like, I'm sure anyone here, I'm sure we can all agree that it'll be a valid vote. And he's like, just go with your gut. And he's like, me or Leorio. And Gon's like, you, I guess. And everyone's like, what? And Periston was like, well, why me? Isn't Leorio your friend? You know, and Gon's like, well, Leorio has to go to medical school. He can't be Hunter Chairman.
Aww.
And that was just, it was super cool. And this was kind of, again, the first pulling back from Periston being evil. It's like, if Gon could just buy his gut and trust him, like, because Gon has good gut instincts. If Gon could just buy his gut, trust him like that, he's probably not a terrible guy. So I like that. We also have Leorio walking out with Gon, being like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm voting for Periston too." And Periston wins, and then we get the funniest scene in Hunter x Hunter. I love this. Is the scene that made me like, okay, Periston's my favorite. Periston wins, and he goes up. He's like, "Hello, everyone." He's like, "I'm your new chairman." He said, "My first order of business is I'm going to make Miss Cheadle my vice chairman. I hereby resign my position." so base, so good. he did a little bit of trolling. Oh my gosh, that made me love Pariston so much.
It's the biggest troll because had like Pariston not done any of this, the election would have gone off relatively smoothly.
Yeah, and it was so funny because like after Gone gave his support for Pariston, it's like, okay, maybe it wouldn't be so bad if he won, and you kind of resign like, okay, yeah, he's probably going to win. And then it's like he's the quote he's the antagonist of the arc, so it's like, what's going to happen once he wins? He just pulls the bait and switch. He's like, yeah, I'm out. So
and then in the hallway, when he's talking with Cheadle, he basically says he just wanted to fuck around with Netero, and that if things become boring under her leadership, he's gonna get serious about starting to like fuck around with her. Which, pretty good way to leave that. And then, isn't that all that happens? Like, okay, no. We've skipped out on a lot of stuff with Killua and Aluka and Inami and a lot of them.
Well, that's it. We've skipped out a lot. We've hit the high points, just not all. And even then, this video is already 40 minutes long, so we got a couple things left. So this is where we learn that Alika and Nanika can be ordered, and there's no price. And then we get a very nice scene between Killua and Alika and Nanika, where basically Killua views Nanika as kind of like a curse on Alika, and tells her to go away. And this makes Nanika very sad. And I watched this in the anime. I was like, man, it hits different. It's sad. It's such a good scene. It's so well done. And Alika comes out and it's like, why did you make Nanika cry? And so that's like, okay, like Nanika is a person too. And it's like two people in the same body. And it's like, what's going on here? But they're like symbiotic. They're like, they know each other. And that's like, it's a cool dynamic. And this is the first time, again, it's just double subversion of expectations, where we see Pariston as an evil and then we see Nanika as an evil. And we got hints to both throughout the story, but this is where just directly we see it back to back. It's a very touching scene of Killua realizing he was wrong and very tearfully apologizes to Nanika, and it hits different, dude. That hits me right where I live. I can't remember what that's referencing. that hits me right where I live. It was a very nice scene, and I really enjoyed it. Then we get to see Kite but Woman ? Where we get to see a slightly grown up Chimera Ant Kite talking to the koala guy, who killed the person who Kite's situation is interesting in that it's Kite's memories in a Chimera Ant who has the body of a girl that Koala killed.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend to fully understand it, but
maybe later we'll get some explanation.
Maybe during Dark Continent or Succession Contest. Who knows? But we get to see basically Kite being like, hey, you have your sins, make up for them. Cool enough. And then we get to see Gon and Kite talk.
See, what's all funny about this is, once again, as I was saying earlier on, like the Chimera Ants, like it makes Gon's situation back then even worse, because not only did he waste everything just on Kite being dead, it makes it even more ironic that Kite ended up somewhat surviving.
Yeah, but not like in a dumb way. Like a certain other character from Black Clover that we're not going to say because I don't want to have to put a spoiler tag at the front of this video.
It's one of those where it ties well into Gon's character, where it's like, after all of that, he was dead and he was going out with the bang, and then it's like, well, all that sacrifice was somehow even more so for even more of nothing, because Kite just somewhat survived.
Yeah. But it's very interesting because, like, is it Kite or is it a Chimera Ant with Kite's memories? And that gets into the whole theme of the Chimera Ant arc of what is humanity and what makes a human. So that is not a discussion for the end of this arc. But it is an interesting question.
A part of Kite survived.
Yeah.
And then they have a nice little talk, and then isn't this when they go to the world tree?
It is. We get to see Gon and Killua part ways. Killua has finally found his goal, which is to protect Alluka. And so him and Gon's go their separate ways. And
Dude,
that is
it was so fucking sad watching that scene, man. Watching them get their final goodbyes. It hit directly where I lived.
that hits me where I live. I have to find what that's referencing. That's so dumb.
It just hurt a lot watching that, because throughout the entire series, since like the first arc, we've seen these two be friends and grow, and so watching them finally split apart was very, very sad.
Yeah, and especially how you could tell that neither of them really wanted to go. They just had to, because they have their different goals, right? Gon wants to meet Jing. He has to go to the top of the world, where Killua wants to protect Alluka. And after Gon meets Jing, that's the interesting thing, because it's what will Gon's goal be at that point?
Yeah, because it's one of those where typically the manga will end once a character hits their goal. Like whenever Luffy finds the One Piece, or someone becomes like the strongest, someone becomes the Wizard King. Like usually whenever they hit their goal, unless they have a sequel which is very far off in the future, like that's it. You know, the Hunter x Hunter manga doesn't have a time skip or anything like that. And so at this point we see Gon meet his goal, and then it's like, where will Gon go next from here? It's very interesting.
And this was more like the meeting of Gon and Jing.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed all this. Jing explains the Dark Continent. I can't remember all of what he said. Basically, he's like, our world is just a tiny part of the actual world. Yada, yada, yada. Exposition, setting up Dark Continent Expeditions Succession Contest. And theoretically, the rest of Hunter x Hunter. I mean, this really does feel like the end of like a solid part of Hunter x Hunter, to say a half or a third. I don't know. Obviously, Togashi has a lot of plans left that he just has not been healthy enough to write.
Yeah.
And I certainly hope that Hunter x Hunter one day gets finished, but I doubt that will ever happen. Same with Berserk, but hey, Berserk is continuing after Miura's death.
Yeah, so. I'm looking at the notes, and there's a couple interesting things I want to bring up.
Yes.
The world tree that they're on is only a sapling that stops growing, which is like, there's even bigger trees out there. And this is where I wanted to bring up something very interesting. We learn, and this is what I theorize. So we learned that the Chimera ants come from the Dark Continent, right?
Yeah.
And here's just my view on that. Assuming, like, if you want to scale it in terms of how we view animals in our society, if their humanity was threatened by the existence of a mere ant, put that in a perspective of the Dark Continent. And like, this is what made thinking about the Dark Continent so terrifying to me, because if an ant from the Dark Continent, like a literal ant, was enough to almost wipe out humanity, what else is contained in the Dark Continent? Because if something that small was going to give us that much trouble, it's terrifying to think of what else just lies ahead.
Yeah. And even then, you can be like, oh, but it's like a special ant. It's not like a real ant. It's like, but like the kind of environment where something like that can exist, what else exists there?
Yeah, like,
because the Chimera ants are terrifying.
Yeah, again, just the fact of they're very snowbally, where if they just eat enough, Meruem is the strongest character in the series. That's not me trying to be like, oh, well, basically like Goku.
No, like he is. Like as far as we know, he's the strongest. The only person who could kill him is Alluka, if you will. Kill the Ant King.
Or even then, like, Gon, after, sacrificing all of his current and future potential, had enough strength to barely going off of a loose Batu line.
Yeah, canonically.
Rival the king. That he never said be, but rival. And that was
that's
Gon
pre-Rose Meruem.
Yeah, and then post-Rose.
We don't talk about post-Rose Meruem.
Yeah.
Not counting the cancer.
He says, hey, you want to see how far my end goes? And it just reaches 2 different continents. God, like...
Ayo, grip check.
He was scary. And that something like that was okay. This is what I want to bring up. That chimera ants were only labeled out of the scaling of like A, B, C, D, F. They were only labeled a B in terms of threat. A B, Brandon.
And I think that's more on the Hunter Association.
but again, like this, I'm not gonna say it's like Jujutsu Kaisen where it's like everything comes special grade. Like that was only ranked a B, which I firmly believe that means something more terrifying than the chimera ants exists out there, and it's just hard to imagine how they would ever deal with such a threat.
And we will get to see it maybe.
Yeah, and then what else happens at the end? They talk about it.
We get so this is just Gon and Jing reconnecting, and then this is why it feels like the end of like a part of Hunter x Hunter is we get to see like a lot of different things. So first
Also,
we get to see Mito back on Whale Island. Gon sends her some money, very nice. We see Morel and Nav. They settle their bet on who would arrive first, and they use that money to buy a drink, and they drink to Netero. We get to see Gon and some other people, including Kite, watch some birds fly away or something, as I wrote.
We also get to see Gon return his license to Jing.
Yes, that's right. We do see that.
Very big moment. And, oh, God, dude, I fucking started bawling up again whenever they showed Meruem and Komagi.
Yeah, well, yeah, so we have... Kurapika is dripped the fuck out. He certainly is.
He's doing the pose. He's doing the sitting in a chair, being pissed pose.
Is that a pose? Do people meme that?
It's one of the more iconic ones for Kurapika.
I was gonna say it seemed like he's dripped out. He is dripped out a little bit.
It's like captioned like waiting on more Hunter x Hunter anime be like, and it just shows that.
So true. And then yes, like you said, the last couple panels we get to see, zooming in on where Meruem and Komagi are dead, and they're holding hands, and it got that hits a little different. It got me a little bit.
Yeah.
What more can we say about the Chimera Ant arc? I mean, we could probably talk about it for hours on end. We won't, but just it hits different.
Yeah, and I think with that's the end. At least for both of us, it's different endings. This is you've caught up officially where the anime is, and we've both seen nothing beyond this. I very much enjoyed my journey with Hunter x Hunter, and I look forward to the next few arcs. So, Brandon, as you finally caught up to where the anime is in Hunter x Hunter, what are your full thoughts on Hunter x Hunter, at least right now?
My full thoughts on Hunter x Hunter right now as to where the anime is. I really like it. Nen is a great power system.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
It is not as flashy as something like Stans or Devil Fruits, but it is still very fun, and it's very good.
It has the most rules out of a good power system.
And it's more grounded, I would say. I can really appreciate that. It has a lot of fun characters. It has a lot of fun writing. My favorite manga is still One Piece. I think that's will be pretty. I don't see Hunter x Hunter rivaling that, but I mean, it always could. But One Piece is One Piece. But I really do like Hunter x Hunter. It's definitely one of my favorite mangas. It is most certainly one of my favorite shonen. I am very much looking forward to reading more of it. Chimera Ant is a phenomenal arc that I will place on a similar level of reverence as Shibuya or Marineford, though for a different reason. I don't think it's fair to compare the two. Hunter x Hunter is not a perfect series. It has its things here and there that I don't like, but if there's only ever been two series where I just absolutely love everything, and that's Mushoku Tensei and Steins Gate. For Hunter x Hunter to reach that is just kind of it's not a mark against it that I have things that I dislike in it. There's always going to be stuff like that.
But Rudeus is a pervert.
I was very tempted to end the episode right there, Kyle. I was very tempted to. You see, Kyle, that's part of the character arc. You have to understand the character arc, Kyle.
Look forward to the inevitable Mushoku Tensei book club.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of these days, maybe I'll make a video reading the like 20-page essay I wrote describing the intro to Mushoku Tensei is a phenomenal, and in my opinion, a perfect isekai intro. Maybe one day. We're getting off topic. This has been Hunter x Hunter Book Club. We still have 2 more arcs. It's not the end of Book Club, but this is the end of where the anime is. The next episode will have a little bit of a different feel, in that it will be me and Kyle discovering new Hunter x Hunter at the same time.
Yeah, and at least for me, as someone who watched the anime a while back, I'm very happy to have retaken the plunge and exploring my memories from it with Brandon, and just getting to hear it's always fun. And this goes for anyone, just introducing someone into something you like and having them enjoy it. It's a good feeling. It kind of hits like the student mentor, where now he's caught up, now he's exactly where I am, and so now we both get the chance to explore something new. Hunter x Hunter is, as Brandon said, at least similar to me, one of my favorite shonens, one of my favorite animes, and I look forward to seeing what the manga holds.
With that, if you're this far into the video, there's obviously something that you liked, so maybe leave a like and subscribe. Join our Discord. There's a link in the description, just in case you want to talk to us about anime stuff. Just don't do it while Kate and Trevor are around. They'll eat your dog. So next we have Dark Continent Expedition. Look forward to it. I have no clue when we're going to read or record that, because we're coming up on a weekend that Kyle and I will be busy during. But you will see it in a week, inevitably. And I don't know. This is the latest we have ever gone on recording. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.